So today we're here with the 2011 Toyota Tacoma TRD Sport 4-liter V6, and we're going to show the installation of the AEF sealed intake stage 2. Step 1 is going to be to remove your factory engine cover, which you have two 10mm bolts, one here, one here. Once you remove them, the cover just comes off. That is step 1 of the process. Along with removing the engine cover, you have to remove the MAP sensor. And for my model, it's right here. You have two screws or Phillips head. It just takes a standard size Phillips screwdriver and remove it out of the way. And just, of course, something with like that, be gentle with it. You don't want to damage it. The next step is going to be to remove your factory intake piping. You simply have one Phillips head clamp style you got to loosen. And you have two 12mm bolts. One is down in here, and one is on the top. So you have two. Once you do that, you just gently pull it free, and you'll pull out from your inner fender, and you'll remove it, and you'll have your gap. That's the following step. Next step, I'm going to be working on removing your factory air box. You have one 10mm bolt up here, and down in the lower area below the MAP sensor, you'll have another 10mm bolt, and another Phillips head style clamp that goes on your throttle body. You also have this hose disconnect, and after that it should be clear. And of course, when doing this, do it slowly. Make sure you watch all wires and other lines to make sure you don't snag your point head. Alright, once you get your factory box removed and cleared out of the way, you'll see where the 10mm bolts were holding it. You have little rubber like spacer grommet type things, one here that'll be located on the side by the MAP sensor, and one on the top back. You'll need to remove those and keep those for your new intake. Okay, those two little rubber spacer grommet things that you took out of your factory air box, you will take to your AEF intake box. You'll insert them into the bottom, one here and here as shown. Something I thought made it a little easier is take the little metal piece out first, slip the rubber and get it in position, and just slide those in. Okay, the next box, and install the adapter. And it just takes 3 of the screws, put them in, snug them up. That's the next step. Okay, now what you're going to do is this bracket that the air conditioner runs on. That's below where your factory box will be right here. There's another 10mm bolt in it. You remove it, take this little adapter piece, it's threaded on both ends with the rubber in the center, and re-thread it back into there. That'll be where your new box sits down onto. And it says to just hand tighten it. I always get things real snug, make sure they're all secure. That's actually look there. That's another step. Once you have that complete, you take the AFE box and install it. What you do is that double-headed bolt that you just put on where your air conditioner valve go, that is it sticking out right there. And in those two holes you replaced the grommets earlier, there's one there and one there also. That is where the factory box mounted down. You bolt those down in with the acquired bolts. Obviously make sure that the one side, it's the filter into the fender, while the hole to the fender is lined up. And once you bolt that down, it's another step. And I also apologize for the poor lighting in this video. It is nighttime, so it's all the time I got to work on. Okay, now you should have your new box in, and the 3 12mm bolts reinserted to the rubber grommets. That one right there in the corner that goes to where the AC thing is, you'll just want to make sure it's good and snug. And in my personal opinion, once you get this all installed, I'd make sure you got them good and snug, that way they don't work loose from vibrations or anything you might be doing in your driving habits. But in my opinion, this point is a good point to look around the whole entire box on the outside. Well, wait for this car to go by. I think it'd be a good time to look all the way around the outside of your box. Make sure you don't have anything that looks like it could rub against it, like wires or anything important that could cause noise vibrations, or it could also like wear. Like in time, you could wear a hole through something. And then also make sure the box feels all secure, that way, if you have any little vibrations, like if you're in idle or stopped at a light, you don't have an annoying like humming or vibrating sound. That's my personal opinion. You can always add some kind of rubber inserts or washers. Alright, the next step is on your AFE new intake tube. You're going to replace your MAP sensor. You have the 2 holes in your sensor. It's also a good time, in my opinion, to inspect your sensor to make sure it's not broken, damaged, or even dirty. And if so, you can get it repaired now. It'll take the 2 flathead screws that are included. There's also 2 whitish spacers that go with it, and 1 gasket. Of course, make sure the gasket's all clean, everything's lined up, you get it all tight, and get it all reinstalled. Alright, once you have that reinstalled, this is how it should look. With that, definitely make sure you don't over tighten it because you don't want to break it, but make sure it's snug, and also make sure that gasket's good lined up. Then you'll take your fitting, put it in the top, just get it snug, it will stick out a little. And also with the fitting, when you first get it, make sure you look through it, make sure there's no blockage or any debris stuck in it that could affect your airflow. As for any of the holes on this intake. And next step should be to line it up to the box to your throttle body. Okay, by now you should have inserted the tube section in the intake. You also have the 2 rubber fittings, one that goes to the throttle body and then the one that goes to the box. And you'll have the 2 hose clamp styles that go down. Make sure you get them snug. Make sure you definitely have it all the way against the throttle body and all the way against the box, in my opinion. Wiggle it around, feel for it, make sure you don't have anything pinching or binding or getting in the way. And those are something I definitely make sure you get good and tight because you don't want any vacuum leaks or areas that debris can get in after the filter. And once again, I just check for fitment and make sure nothing's rubbing or in the way or anything's odd and out of the ordinary. Now you should have included about a 12-inch long piece of air hosing. That'll be what you use to replace your factory one. I don't know if you can see it back here that you removed from your factory box. It's right above the head, and you'll extend it to a new one and place it onto that brass fitting we put in. I also recommend, if you just get that side of the box, to maybe put your thumb one in and gently blow through it, make sure there's no debris in it, feel that you have proper airflow, and also inspect for any cracks. Now back to your stock air box, you have this little fitting that was on top that you took off, that you loosened one of the engine covers for. You'll remove that. At the top, there's a little piece on there. You'll just take an adjustable wrench, loosen it. You'll insert that to the top of the tube in the last brass threaded hole, about 3 inches to the left of the mass sensor. Once you have that piece removed and reinstalled, it should look like so. So this is what it's looking like so far. Now I do believe we move on to installing an air filter. Now at this point, you should already have your air filter installed. Depending on what brand air filter you run, I would run an AFE, but they have 3 different series. This is just the non-oil one. Also make sure you get it good and sealed around there, good and tight. And I just do a simple check around it, make sure there's no gaps you missed or anything, because this obviously is your main line of filtration. And at this point, you should be just about good to go. You do a final check over everything, make sure everything's secure. You still need to put the included lid on this. If you want, down below in front of the washer fluid, there is a hole. There should be a plug comes with it. You can seal that if you want, and also replace your engine cover. But me personally, I'm going to start the vehicle, do a little test run, make sure everything seems fine, make sure check engine doesn't show. And if it does, I'm going to hook up my OBD2 scanner, find out what the problem is. And I may even take it on a test ride, make sure there's no little things I need to work out or fix on it. At this point, I'm letting the vehicle sit and idle and come to a full warm up. And then I'm going to give a little rev, make sure everything seems alright, make sure check engine light doesn't come on or get any kind of funny idle. That way to make sure everything I installed was proper and all the vacuums are right. And then I'll take it on a small test drive. Okay, at this point the vehicle's been running for about 5 minutes. I did an idle and got the full temperature. No check engine light, no weird idling sounds, and no extremely different sound in the vehicle. I'm just going on a small drive now, going to see if I have any issues with it, see if check engine light throws, and then we'll give it a little more juice, see if you can hear a difference in sound and any kind of noticeable difference in acceleration. I will will say on my typical driving on regular acceleration, whether it be just around town or getting up to 65 on the interstate, I generally don't go over 2,000 to 2,200 RPMs on normal acceleration. This truck really doesn't need to, in my opinion, unless you're having fun or you're towing or something. That's a completely different story. But for me, unless I'm having fun or getting on it, I'm trying to get the most out of fuel I can get out of this. Obviously, so far it's running fine and smooth. It doesn't sound any different yet. I already realized that once you hit higher RPMs, it will sound over full throttle. The factory lid that seals on top of the intake to actually pretty much make it a true cold air intake, I did not install it this time. I'm just checking it out right now, making sure everything's fine. I will reinstall it in a little bit, along with the engine cover. I myself just did not want to do that yet in case I do have to readjust anything or fix anything. I don't want to have to go through taking it back off again, but that's just individual preference. I'm not a mechanic or anything. I'm just kind of a backyard do it myself to my own vehicles type person and go with it and learn it. Start to give it a little more normal acceleration here, see if we notice anything. It does have, I'm about a third throttle, and it does have a noticeable difference in sound. Definitely real throaty, which I kind of like because I don't have a cat back or anything, so I want that little extra sound when I'm giving it that extra gas. I'm up to around 55 now. I'm back down to around 1,800 RPMs, and it just sounds like normal now. So I'm assuming at just cruising speed and normal throttle, you won't be able to hear a difference, which is fine by me. It is definitely very loud inside the cab when you step on full throttle. I can only imagine how it sounds outside. I can see why they include the lid, and a lot of people want the lid. That doesn't bother me, but on an everyday basis, if I was just trying to get from A to B, that probably would get on my nerves. I don't really know if it increased the power or acceleration. This truck's pretty good stock in my opinion. We'll head back now and put the rest of it together and see how it ends up. Okay, went on a little ride and everything went fine, ran smooth, their check engine light. As you can see, I did. Now that I'm back, I installed the cover. It just takes 6 bolts, it's pretty self-explanatory. You gotta wiggle it around, a little difficult to get on at first. It's got a good seal. I treat it like rims. Do opposite sides, that way you can get it real nice and tight without stripping down. I would tighten it almost as tight as you can without feeling like stripping. And I'd probably honestly recommend at least every other one, if not every one, putting a little bit of thread lock on them, because I have a feeling vibrations that'll work loose. I went ahead and left mine open down here. I will replace engine cover in a few. And then just to cover tools I use for this project, I use a 13mm wrench, 12mm wrench, adjustable wrench, some Allen wrenches, 2 different size Phillips heads, a flathead screwdriver, a pair of pliers to help me get off some of the factory brackets, 12mm socket, 10mm socket, a deep extension, and a ratchet. It includes little instructions, a little license plate frame, and this little rubber piece here is what you can insert to your box. And it came with a couple little stickers, which they'll probably just sit in the toolbox somewhere. And then you got the factory intake pieces. I'll put the heat shield back on. Factory intake pieces, I'd probably just go ahead and restore in your box or do whatever you want. And once again, I'm sorry for the quality of this lighting, and also remember I'm not a good mechanic, I'm just kind of a backyard do-it-all. This project took me around about an hour and 10 minutes total if I wasn't recording and doing other things in between. So I hope this review helps out for some people, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I figured also real quick I'd go ahead and show it complete with the engine cover on, because I know a lot of people probably run it and may be curious what it looks like. Here's with the engine cover replaced. and everything installed. That's the AFE stage 2 cold air intake, sealed. I doubt I'll see any improvement in fuel. Mine will probably go down due to my foot now, but I don't know. The technology of this vehicle, electronics, will probably be hard to change anyways. But we'll see what we can get.